Hi, I'm Matt Mahler with MovieWeb. It's a
Hi.
pleasure to speak with you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for wanting to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. It was another beautiful vibe. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, a great tone poem, just like Unknown Country. It just feels good and stays in your mind. Um,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah. I understand it kind of began with your goddaughter Jasmine sort of telling you stories over time. Was there a certain one that convinced you, oh, this needs to be a film, or I want to start filming it, or was it more just her personality?
I remember two moments, like the first two moments that come to me. Uh, the first one was not a story. The first one was when I got back from South Dakota after maybe, I don't know, 5 months or something of uh I'd been away and I saw her and I turned on some music or something. Yeah, I turned on some music and I was like, "Oh, Jazz, are we gonna dance?" And she was like, "I don't dance anymore." And I was like, "Wait, you danced like 5 months ago?" And she was like, "No, it's just I got shy since you were here last." And I was like, "Oh, you're like growing up and like now you're like self-conscious in a way that like you weren't, you know?" That was one moment when I just was like, I don't know, that's something that like I noticed. And then one of the stories that she told me where we were like, oh, okay, we should make a film uh was or not make a film, but these are just like the things that struck the idea like for it. Um was when she told me about the boys at school who would be counting their girlfriends and like it was happening every day on the playground and she was like it's just like so annoying like they just are like counting their girlfriends and they're all lying and it's just so annoying and I was like I don't know there's something about the combination of that like of that self-awareness of like growing up mixed with like the hilariousness of the story of the kids on the playground and there's something with those like two things if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It captures that transitional moment. Um, I know with Unknown Country, a lot of it was sort of conceived with Slow Dive's self-titled album in mind, Slow Mo and Star Raving especially. Were there any specific songs or albums that helped Jazzy in the same way, or could you bypass that this time because you had Neil Halstead all to yourself with Alexis March?
Oh, no, that's not many people ask about the music. Thank you for asking about that. Um, yeah, I mean, for this movie, like, yeah, what Neil and I had a great collaboration on the Unknown Country, so it was very a natural progression to be like, oh, okay, like he and Alexis should work on this one. But the same way that slow dive songs, I mean, the slow dive songs in the Unknown Country were like years of those songs influencing what the unknown country actually was in so many ways. It's not exactly like that for Jazzy, but the energy of Future Islands was something that I was listening that somehow every time I was like thinking about this movie, the energy of Future Islands felt like something in the in the imagining of the film. So I
Yes,
knew
it's
that
changed, right?
it's
I said, yes, seasons change, right?
yes, exactly. Yeah, no, truly. And that like kind of the lyrics, there was so much stuff that like made sense in what I was thinking for Jazzy. So in a lot of ways, yeah, there was similarities with that, but also knowing that Neil and Alexis were going to be contributing to the score from an early start made me like understand that this score would be able to have all those dreamy elements which was early. Well, with the unknown country, it was something that over time I had to learn to build, which was very helpful that I knew the music was like kind of going to be set from the beginning of making Jazzy, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And your films do kind of feel like mixed tapes in an audio visual sense, where it does kind of mix tapes emotionally for characters' lives, mix tapes temporally. It works very well. Um,
So,
I know. like with Lily Gladstone and Unknown Country, with that sort of loose structure, she's so skillful she can kind of guide a scene in the right direction, quote unquote. But with such young kids as your characters, did you feel more responsibility to structure things or take on that role this time?
There was definitely more structure to Jazzy than there was to the Unknown Country, for sure. But that was something we talked about at the beginning, like how Lily was able to carry obviously the Unknown Country on her own in a lot of ways. Um, like they're kids, so like was that possible? And so basically it wasn't like we were doing a lot of tests, it was just that we were like kind of seeing if that was possible by shooting and figuring it out. And when Jazzy, in the scene where Jazzy's running and crying in the montage at about 20 minutes, that was something we were trying to see. Like, I was like, Jazz, like, do you think you might be able to like be emotion, just be emotional out of the blue? Like, was that something because we would need to do that to actually make a film. And that was kind of, if there was a test, which seems like a weird word for that, that was kind of the moment that we were seeing if it was possible to make a full movie with her and about her. And then so there wasn't a structure up until that point. It was just filming them. And then after that montage that happens in the film uh, was when we started building a structure, and we're like, okay, we know these kids can do this. So what can we make, like what can we make, like, and then we made up the story about what was going to happen with their friendship and all of that type of stuff. So the first 20 minutes, which might not surprise you, there wasn't much structure. It was just like seeing if there was uh, something to make with everybody, with the
Well, I
kids.
mean, Soraya and Jazzy have such a natural friendship, sort of in the film. So it's interesting. I mean, Unknown Country is so wide. It's a road trip film. Jazzy, at least for the first hour until well, what happens at the end, uh, it's so much more confined. It's so much more confined. Did that feel like a challenge to you to keep that interesting in your style without being able to have all these wonderful locations around the country?
I think we honestly didn't realize that that was happening for a while. Like, we were just filming what felt right to film. And then suddenly we were like, oh yeah, like we're making, it's very small. Like, it's very, and then we realized that that's also was working for the story, like that it was like very much like, oh, here's their little worlds, and then slowly the worlds start to expand, and you get like the passion play scene where they're like, out with breaking into the abandoned buildings, and then you get, them in these wide open spaces. Like, we realized that that was kind of working for us, but that wasn't on purpose. It was more that said that we really were following them in their worlds, and the worlds were tiny, like it was their little universes. Um, so
No, that's a
that
perfect way to put it. It does. I mean, it literally does take that structure and the end with the cavernous echoes, and it's everywhere. The reverberations of their friendship. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, one second. I'm curious. Your career seems to have been, I mean, this is just outside speculation, and I'm curious if you want to pursue more direct feature filmmaking to script more, because it does seem to have gone from full documentary and then sort of this incredible hybrid and Unknown Country to a more feature film format. You don't have the interviews or anything like that. Do you feel like that's where you're headed, or is it just, hey, see what happens?
I think the next projects will be um yeah, more scripted, but trying to keep, just because as sorry, I'm trying to figure out the right way to say that. Like, it's not like oh, now's the time. Now, next is the feature film, the scripted features. It's not like that. It's like, oh, okay, like next, I would like for there to be more structure, while still finding the moments to keep everything more loose and really knowing how to use what we've built in the Unknown Country and Jazzy, like, but for uh use it to our benefit without it feeling so chaotic, and and also hopefully just more organized, but it not hurting what we've built with Jazzy and the Unknown Country, because I feel like that flowing style we really love, but how do you do that with just being more structured, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. Um, so I'm curious if, like, Lily Gladstone found a script and a giant budget and wanted you to direct, would you, like Disney, Warner Brothers, whatever, does that, uh, are you worried that you wouldn't be able to have that kind of control, or is that something you jump at?
um Lily and I do have another project together. It is very much in this, it's very much what I just described, which is like in the style of trying to keep what we've done before, with these, but but having it be more structured. I don't think I would jump on a script that was sent to me where unless it was like somehow, I mean, there are writers I would love to work with and maybe it would find the most perfect, but like just to make a movie, I wouldn't do that. Like I really am excited to keep making things, and what we've already kind of discovered is working, and I'm excited to try to further that in ways. I don't think it would be like, oh yeah, there's a script and now Disney and there's money, and like I really am interested in trying my best to like make art and to make art and see how you can push that in, to keep see how you can push that and make things in the world and in the economy that we're in and the industry that we're in, all those things. How do you keep doing that,
Yeah.
which is always a fun challenge for artists for their whole lives. So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
you know
working very well so far. I mean, I'm thinking of like Chloe Zhao, goes from Nomadland to Marvel's Eternals. Like that must be a shock to the system.
yeah, I think I would do, I don't know if I would do well in that type of move over. I think that I would
It
deeply suffer.
seems like it's hard for, yeah. What about doing a Michael Apted or Richard Linklater thing with Jasmine or Tana's story, and following up on these characters? Is that something you're interested in?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was just saying in the last interview, like the, Jazzy grew so organically out of the Unknown Country that I feel like it would have to be that again. Like it wouldn't be like, okay, now we got to make a trilogy. So what's next? In the Linklater fashion, we could do that in 20 years. We could do that in 5 years. I feel like at the right time, I think it's something we would all be excited to do, but it would have to be the right thing to jump out at us, the same kind of way that Jazzy kind of grew organically. And I don't think any of our familial friendships are going anywhere. So I feel like those types of things could grow quite naturally in the future, but there aren't any current plans of us being like, we have the third one waiting, making Jazzy while we were making the Unknown Country, because it was happening at sort of the tail end, was very hard. Like two movies in a row that were made for under $300,000 is not easy. So I think we also just need a little um breather from just that. I mean, it was so hard. Like we were so tired making Jazzy, but we all loved her so much and we wanted to like make that happen. But yeah, I think we might just like need a beat before before we but who knows, maybe Disney will be like, we'll give you $20 million to make the
Yeah,
trilogy.
Princess Jazzy,
Yeah,
Princess Jazzy.
exactly. Yeah. So then, yeah, maybe that's it. Who knows?
Yeah.
No.
Is there anything you could share about the next project you're working on?
I not quite at this moment where it's, it's developing ideas for it and stuff, but when I can talk about it more and there's more to talk about, I'll let you know.
Thank you so much. Are you listening to anything at the moment that's helping shape it, or do you have any?
Oh, you
Well,
mean music? What do I have any of the? Not quite yet. It's not kind of far enough where I can have that sort of. Uh, that's a great question. Yeah, no, not quite yet. I can't tell you the musical stuff that is really hit at the moment for it. That's a really particular point where that happens. And um, I'll also let you know when that happens. I'll send you the soundtrack of
thank you.
what I'm listening
Yeah, it's great soundtracks. And I guess
to.
while I have you,
Question.
question: do you have a best album of 2024, or any favorites? And film wise too, you're welcome to. Your taste, I think, is great and contagious. So I'm interested.
You. I mean, it sounds. I mean, I love Slow Dive's new album. So that's probably is that 20 that's 2024, isn't it? Yeah, that was 2024. The new one.
Yeah,
That
no,
would
absolutely.
yeah, I think it isn't it? Hold on. Now I'm just gonna look it up. I'm almost
I'm
positive.
curious now too.
Yeah, I think it is. Slow Dive. Because yeah, that's when they were on tour for it. Yeah, everything is alive. Oh, it's
Oh,
2023. I just
yeah.
listened to it all during 2024. Um, uh, I don't know. I think I'm like cluing you into like in real life, I'm actually really boring. I listen to the same things over and over and over again, and I don't have much like I'm not like, oh my gosh, I know so much about music and I'll like tell you the new hot album. Like that's not me at all. I like listen to the same bands that I love like consistently over and over and over. Which is probably why then they seep into my head and are in the films in such a specific way, but yeah, I wish I had a better answer
Oh,
for
that's
you.
okay. They say like the it's so much harder to really like new bands the older you get. Like your neural pathways, 20, 30, whatever, start to close. And so all of us, our parents, their parents, listen to things they listened to when they were 18,
That
20.
actually did remind me of who was affected me this year because it was sorry, what you just said helped me get there because Nick Cave actually says something very, very similar that like as he got older, it's harder to be influenced by new I was just watching an interview with him and Nick Cave actually was the one. I'm like very late to the Nick Cave game. Like I know everyone's been listening to him for years and years and years, but like I just with his new album like went into like a deep dive and you know got obsessed. But I am kind of also one of those people that's like, have you ever listened to so and so? And they're like, yeah, he's been around for like 20 years. And I'm like, oh well, I'm having my first amazing, deep dive
Well,
experience.
Nick Cave and Warren Ellis do some film scores, maybe the next one.
That is true. I love that those types of collaborations with musicians. So man, that would be a dream.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for discussing this really beautiful movie, as usual with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time and asking such great questions.
Oh, thank
Honestly.
you.
Yeah.
Have a great rest of your week. Thanks.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.